again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of 3 Months of Russo, and I'm taking a look at all his stuff from 1999 till he left at the beginning of January, I guess it was. So, anyway, we're on our way to Mayhem. I'm going to once again post all the bracket results in the description below, so you can keep track along with this with me, and you can kind of know the results ahead of time as well, and as well as what's going to happen at Mayhem as far as that goes. Wow. Apparently there was some problems with this, because there was like a warning that it was in its most complete form. But as far as I can tell, there wasn't really anything major taken out. It was like the last 5 minutes of the show, so there was like this little buzzing noise for a second or so, but okay. A lot of short matches, I gotta say, and both main events were cut short, and I think they should have been given a little bit more time, maybe been bolstered up to 7 minutes as opposed to what they were. But like I can kind of understand what the sub main event was like. So, but let's get into the show. I'll give you a rundown of everything that went on. There's a backstage confrontation between Bret Hart and the Outsiders. Really, nothing much going on there. He's bitching because of the way he won the US title the previous week. So, I gather that a lot of the main guys weren't appearing on Thunder at the time, because there is a segment here where they cover something that happened on Thunder. There's an opening promo, and for some reason they changed Sid's music. I don't know why. And if they're going to change it, why don't they just make it the WWF version of Sid's music? Because that was like really good. It was like really cool. It's this weird, generic dun 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 music, and it's like, oh god. Yeah. Okay. So. Yeah, and Sid ends up beating up Bret, giving him a powerbomb, and the Outsiders come out and hand the US title to Sid. So that happens, and Sid has possession for the US title for most of the rest of the night. Okay, then the announcers run through the other two brackets, because there's like there's four groups, and like it's all heading to the semis and the final at Mayhem. So they run through a lot of the matches that are going to happen, which is a really good idea, to run through your matches that you're going to have that night. Like, you don't say when they're going to be, but like people can figure them out. Then we go to the Revolution, who are still have Tori for some reason, and they haven't called the police to say, hey, my co-workers have stolen my girlfriend, and I can't go. They have kidnapped my girlfriend. So Billy Kidman doesn't feel the need to call the FBI or anything like. But as Max Landis says, you don't have to question these things because it's not real. But like, I'm just like, if I think of that, that's like, okay. They run through Savage's promo from last week, and I gather this is never picked up on again, because as far as I know, Savage only has one more appearance in the company, and that's to do a cameo at a Thunder taping. Which, by the way, eventually I will cover all of 2000. Eventually, that'll be like a big project. Then we have a pretty good match between Vampiro and Berlin, from memory. Because like I had to watch this in like 2 sittings, and like, yeah, there was some breaks in between. For some reason they pair these two off and have a match on Mayhem, and I don't know why. After interference by both the Misfits and the Wall, Vampiro wins. Then we cut back to a backstage segment with the Outsiders. I think this is before Kevin Nash, like, he comes on, he's I'll be your manager. Oh wait, no, I can't. I haven't got the proper paperwork or something, and they run through that thing. They'll come in next week, but like, then they say, yeah, this leads to something that, like, they run with, and it just never happens. Okay. Yeah. I've just written here Tori in the cage, so I gather that's just like a backstage where they show Tori's in a cage. They say it's a shark cage. I'm like, why? Then they run through all the happenings from last week with the Revolution, Malenko and Benoit, and a match. And they show highlights of a match between Benoit and Sid where Benoit's got Sid in the crippler crossface. So then you see the Revolution charge it down. So there was a lot of attention put on Benoit here. So obviously, like, Russo was really committed to getting Benoit, the Revolution, and the Filthy Animals over. I really don't. Yeah, and then we get a promo from the Revolution. Satin challenges Eddie to a match where they're going to hang a key on a pole. This is the first Russo object on a pole match. It's the key on a pole. This one I have no problem with, but he's got this thing with putting various objects on a pole. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then Benoit comes in and announces that his qualifying match for the last of what will be his qualifying match for the tournament, him and Malenko's, is going to take place in this cage that's been hanging over the ring, and they weren't sure, like the announcers weren't sure what the cage was for. You know what? I would really like a show where they have a cage hanging above the ring and they just don't use it for the entire night. I reckon that would be so cool. Like what is this cage doing up here? And it never gets used. Like, I think that would be really funny. You're teasing a cage match and it never happens. The animals, and then the Filthy Animals arrive. They beat up a security guy. Okay, video of the incident that I really liked last week with David Flair and DDP. Go to the previous video to see that. These are all in a playlist now, so you can pay attention to them. There. Then Kimberly gives an update on what's happening with DDP. This is to cover the fact that DDP is one of the main stars of the show. That's the movie. The Cat comes out with 3 women to take on Lash LaRue. This is another one of the matches for the thing. Apparently, the Cat was injured, so this is a very brief match, and then he somehow re-injures himself or something. We have a Bret Hart interview. The Nitro girls, again, this is like, and they have a little cat fight. Billy Kidman and and Billy Kidman and the Animals spying on Lex and Liz. This leads to nothing. Him realizing that he's realized he's got a bye, and he could be facing either Ming or Sting. Wonder if that was planned or not. Then we get a look at Scott Steiner, and he was really injured at this time. They're really teasing that. There's a Nitro's girl fight. Nitro girls, girl fight. Buff Bagwell interview. Like, seriously, this left nothing with me. So I don't. And then I think then there's another like Nitro girls fight. Because I got Nitro fight. I must have meant Nitro girls fight. Yeah. Replay of it's a replay of Buff and Creative Control from last week. Yeah. And then we have the match. Buff versus Stevie Ray. Buff wins due to the Creative Control trying to interfere, but I think from memory, I think they get caught, and that's how Buff wins. Then we get a Jarrett interview, and Nash has his new gimmick. He's the promoter, and which is clearly a rib at Vince. And there's a lot of these. I'm just gonna say right now, there's a lot of these things that he says later on. That's a tag on the WWF thing attitude, where it says "Get it." So like most of the segments end with "Get it." Like, come on. Yeah, this is the like a ring segment. It has with Scott Hall. It's not very funny. It doesn't work. Like it's Nash just talking, and it's like I'm not sure if he was reading the shit off the cards or not. Like it's just like really lame thing. I don't know if it was trying to be lame on purpose. Lex tries to send Ming after Jeff Jarrett. We have another Kurt Hennig interview. Then Kurt Hennig faces off against Disco Inferno for his tournament match. Hennig wins after his name was Tony Marinara, but we don't know that. But like I know that because of what happens later. I've seen the pay-per-view, and oh god, this is so lame. That name is so lame. But yeah, it's Tony Mamaluke, and this is this whole angle to introduce the Mamalukes later on. Then we have a Filthy Animals interview. Norman Smiley coming to the ring dressed in a catcher's outfit, like he's got the outfit on. Oh, I haven't said much about the matches. Like for the time they're given, they're alright. Like some of them are just given like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It's just like have the match as quickly as possible and then end it. Thing. I've written Mang there. It's Ming. So there's a yeah, I forget why they're in a bathroom. And Nash is still in the promoter's outfit thing. But yeah, okay. Like it was another get it thing. Really lame. You got Ming the Barbarian versus Norman Smiley, and this is a problem. Norman ends up getting stretched out, but it's all a swerve because he heads back in after both Ming and the Barbarian are laid out. But we don't know how they both got laid out, so he just gets the pin 1, 2, 3, and he continues on. Okay, this is yeah, stupid thing. Jarrett is heading to the ring to apologize, and then we get the debut of Vince Russo, not on screen, but like he's clearly like talking right next to the camera or near the camera, and we see the desk and the creative control guys and Jim Duggan doing it. So yeah, and he's and Jim Duggan's in a suit. Never been seen in a suit before, unless it was like a Hall of Fame or something. So it's really weird because he's still got the scruffy hair and the scruffy beard and everything, but he's like trying. And yeah, it's not a great segment, but like it's the debut of the powers that be. Okay, so and then we get another outsider segment. Honestly, like I only watched this like a little while ago, and I can't remember it, so I don't know. And clearly I didn't really care about it because I just wrote outsider segment. So, Lex and Ming. Must be like a quick thing of them heading to together talking. So Jarrett and Lex have a back and forth. Jarrett makes fun of Ming. Ming comes charging out. Nothing happens, but then what do you know? It's all that build up to that is just a swerve. So Lex Luger can beat the heck out of Ming with some sort of pipe or something. So yeah. Kind of a build up to a fart, in my opinion. But okay. Okay, the outside is its dressing room, and yeah, this is a segment where, for an instant, Sid goes off and pretending he's Vince McMahon, apparently complaining about his career with Vince, which is weird because it's like I like multiple times I thought Sid had good like runs with the WWE, but okay. Oh, and then we get Lex trying to talk Sting into a tag title match. He finally agrees or something eventually. Then we get the key on the pole match, which is actually one of the better matches Saturn and Eddie had, but there was a problem with him getting the key because he just like he would get on it and it would slide. It'd be like a fireman's pole. He'd slide back down. So eventually he just had to jump and hopefully grab it. So he did that as quickly as he possibly could. Now that's actually a match that was given a decent amount of time because like they had to set up the cage and everything. So well, they clearly wanted to give it some time. Okay. Oh no, this is the segment where where Sid screams at Nash. So yeah, they were trying to convince Sid that they're just gonna pin him and that was gonna be it. That's not what happens. There's clips from last week. I forget. Oh, this is the setup for the tournament. They show the setup for it for some reason. We got Lex interview, and then we have the Lex and Sting versus Kidman and Conan. It's a very short title match, and Lex fakes an injury or pretends he's good, and tags in Sting and. Like, then the animals swarm and beat him up, and match ends in a DQ. Well, you know, that's it. That's the end of that thing, and then Sting beats up, or just pushes Lex away or something. Another backstage segment with the Outsiders and Sid. Then when we get Sting trashing backstage, looking for the animals. That nothing further really results from that. Okay, we're on the final run here. Booker T and Jeff Jarrett. Well, this is a fairly decent match, but again, it ends with creative control interference, but no DQ because Jarrett hits. So the creative control guys distract the referee long enough to get Booker distracted as well as a referee, so Jarrett can hit Booker T with the guitar. Yeah, that's fine. It's a fine ending. I like that. I don't mind that. But the referee can clearly say, "Hang on, there's a whole bunch of guitar parts on the ground. DQ." But okay, 1, 2, 3. We're gonna count that out anyway. We got a Goldberg interview. He's vicious, man. Like, oh man, like I would never change Goldberg heel. Like, that's weird. Then we get the kind of building some catfight between the Nitro girls and then guess what? Nash comes out. It says, "Oh, whoa, ladies, only on pay-per-view. Get it?" Yeah, not very well done. Okay, then we got Evan Courageous and Medusa in an interview. For some reason, Evan Courageous has got a thing for Medusa. And I got the Medusa. Then we go into their match, which is a lot of them flirting back and forth at each other, and Medusa ends up winning by pashing and pinning down Evan Courageous. Like, essentially she pins him, and then she gets the win, and then kisses him. So I think it's kind of a mistiming thing. Wow. And then we get both Malenko and Benoit heading to the ring for their cage match. David Flair arrives. This is all to set up the ending of the next match, because in the steel cage, Benoit wins after he goes to the top of the cage, does a diving headbutt onto Malenko. It's a pretty short match, but it's all set up for the fallout. So I don't necessarily mind this match being short, because you want to show the fallout afterwards. So, and you don't want to cut to a commercial and then cut back to him celebrating and wondering why Malenko is still out on the ground after 4 or 5 minutes. So in comes the Revolution, because Saturn tried to interfere initially during the match. They come in, bang, they handcuff Benoit to the ropes inside the cage. Then the animals come out. They swarm into the ring, and they eventually get the up on the advantage on the Revolution by pure numbers. Then David Flair comes out, and he beats the hell out of the animals after the Revolution powders and gets out of there too. He just takes a crowbar to all of them. He is one responsible for uncuffing Benoit. So pure chaos like that. The action after it lasts nearly as long as the match. So it's okay that the match was that short, but I don't think it needed necessarily to be a cage match. That's my only criticism of it. But I think it did add an element to. I think it was better than the Last Man Standing match, and especially the finish. So after that chaos, after we come back from commercial, we see David Flair leaving. He's got his bag and he's got his crowbar. And in one of the lamest things that has ever happened, it's got to be the slowest moving car in history, and it hits David Flair, and it's revealed to be Kimberly. But like honestly, the car couldn't have been going more than 10 miles an hour. So, yeah. Oh, kind of lame. Then we have Sid vs. Scott Hall. There's some interference by Bret Hart that leads to Scott Hall getting the win and getting and running away with the belt. That's how we end the show. So, not a bad thing. I think the outs. Okay, so overall, what do I think of the show overall? Matches were, some of them were too short. That's just my opinion. I think some of the matches could have been a little bit longer, especially the ones at the beginning of the show. They should have been a little bit longer. Some of the finishes fell really kind of flat. Like even by TV standards, I would say that. But I'm still literally. I think there's so much going on. It's so crazy. You really kind of need a score sheet to see where everyone's at. Like, sometimes the weird thing is the animals are sometimes babyface and sometimes they're heel. So maybe they're going through a transitional thing. I don't know. So, but like, it's really weird shit going on. Trying to keep everything straight. During I forgot to mention, because this show was in Minneapolis, Larry the X Hennig was at ringside during his son's match. It must have been one of the last few times he got to see him compete. Maybe not, but at least in WCW, because I don't think his WCW career, like even when he came back briefly and then left again, lasted too long. Okay, this show is not as good as the last show, just because matches have gotten a lot shorter, and they're like, what I said last time was that the reason that I didn't like that was because you were focusing too much on the outside of the ring stuff. But there should have been, like, the cage match could have been a bit longer. The main event should have been a bit longer. A few of the other matches should have been at least a minute or two longer. Like, it felt like they were rushed, like the show was being rushed through. I think the only match that got a decent amount of time was the Perry Saturn Eddie Guerrero match. I would have to bring up the times and everything, but like, it's clear, like, on the results page, I do check out. They clearly there was a criticism of the amount of times that the matches had, because they would show the actual times, and I'm like, how could you have a decent match in that amount of time? But like, I think the one positive thing I can say is I don't think there's one match that lasts like 30 seconds. I think the main event should have been at least twice as long as it actually was. I just don't think I don't think the show was timed out right. I think there's a few segments that could have been cut, or They just should have thought about what they were doing better. Because I think a generous amount of time was given to a Goldberg interview that didn't need to be there. It could have been on Thunder, on Saturday, on the Saturday night show. But okay. Alright guys, this is a little bit shorter than the other one, or about the same time, but yeah, Russo, guys, is just crazy motherfucker.